Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to Demo Days and Happy New Year. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Hey, Andrea, how's it going?
Hello, how are you? Happy New Year. Happy 2022, AJ. It's great to be
Happy
here today.
2022. Yeah, it's awesome. We're going to kick off this season of Demo Days with a great chat between two guests for today. Andrea, if you could introduce them.
Yes, of course. Well, let's bring in Keith first of all. I'm going to do like the mystery guest reveal thing. So we'll
Sounds
introduce
good.
you first. Hi, Keith. Welcome. For those of
Hey,
you who do not know Keith, he is better known as at Secure Dev. Yeah?
securing dev. There's
Securing
two of
Dev.
us at
You
GitHub.
with
There's
me.
secure
Yes.
dev, who I also get confused with all the time. That's
There
great
you
though.
go. So security dev, and Keith is a co-scanning architect here at GitHub. Just overall super bright person. But as if this wasn't enough, we also have a fantastic guest with us today. I am thrilled and just humbled that he's decided to join us today. But the one and only Simon Bennett. Hello, Simon.
Hey, hi Andrea, hey AJ, Keith. Great to see you all again.
Yes,
Likewise,
thank
Simon.
you. Thank you for being here.
A pleasure.
I'm super, super excited to have this conversation with you. Um, if you're joining us and you've not heard of ZAP, you're going to learn about what ZAP is today and the men who actually created this amazing tool. And then if you are actually already a user of ZAP or have been thinking about dialing into application testing, this is a fantastic tool for you. So you're in the right place. But before we get started, for those of you who never met Simon, I have to introduce you. So Simon, I have to praise and sing all your accolades. He is the OWASP Zed Attack Proxy, ZAP project leader. He's a distinguished engineer at Stackhawk. And what is Stackhawk? Is a company that uses ZAP to help users fix application security bugs before they hit production. He's talked about ZAP. He's demonstrated ZAP at conferences all over the world, include Black Hat, ZAP Java 1, FOSDEM, OWASP, Asia Pac. Prior to moving into security, and this is why I think there's a lot of you who are watching who are big fans of Simon, because he was also a developer and this is how he got started. So before making this move into security, he was a developer for 25 years. He believes in you cannot build secure web applications without knowing how to attack them. And so this is just amazing to have you here today. And we just dive right in. What we're going to have today is a bit of a conversation. Maybe we can twist Simon's arm and get him to give us a tiny demo, maybe. And then, yeah, go from there. But let's learn together. So, Keith, if you don't mind, just go ahead and get started with the questions. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So once again, Simon, I just want to say on behalf of all starting bug bounty hunters everywhere, thank you for all the work that you do on Zed Attack Proxy. It's the way that a lot of people get into the application security space, and so thank you. To kick things off, though, I wanted to ask, what inspired you to work on the ZAP project?
Well, as Andrea said, I was a developer. So I was developing online services for a large company in the UK, FTSE 100 company, developing an online service that we knew was security critical. So I was leading a small Java team. We knew it was very important, so we made sure we designed it as secure as possible. Before it went live, we got the pen testers in for them to have a go. And the whole idea was the pen testers would come in and just tell us what a great job we'd done. It didn't work that way. I should have known how it was going when, we got them on board, two guys, great guys, and I treated them as part of the team. I wanted them to know everything about the application because they were there to find out everything else. We put them in a room, and I just popped back in after an hour to see how things were going. The guy one of them was logged in to the admin console as me. He'd got super user access within an hour. Worse than that,
Wow.
This wasn't actually the code of our service. He'd cracked the single sign-on system of the entire company.
Oh my goodness, that must have been quite the shock.
Technically, this was out of scope, but we were really pleased they did that.
Right.
There was some panicking. We've got to fix this, but yeah, at the end, it seemed like a car crash. Actually, the report wasn't that bad. I've now delivered much worse reports to people, but at the time it felt awful. You know, we thought we were doing everything right, and they found vulnerabilities I've never even heard of. Cross-site request forgery. Whoosh, didn't know anything about it. And you know, they found a silly cross-site scripting vulnerability that shouldn't have got through. So I was at a very low place. I was not happy at all. So, you know, I thought, I'm the developer. You know, I make sure that my applications perform. You know, they do what they're supposed to do. They're robust. They need to be secure. I need to learn about security. I hadn't heard of OWASP. The pen testers told me about OWASP. Okay, great. Well, I hadn't heard of it. I don't know, but you know, well, maybe because I've never had any security training for a start. You know, that just didn't happen at those times. So looked at OWASP, found the OWASP top 10, read all about it. But I'm a developer. I learn best by playing around with things. So it's like, I want to play with stuff. I want to download some tools and have a play. So I looked out for open source security tools. So I thought, one, can help me learn about security, and two, I can actually use these tools. And wouldn't it be great if I could automate a security tool to test my code every night so that we catch these silly cross-site scripting vulnerabilities and I don't get embarrassed by the pen testers again. So that was my plan. I was kind of surprised to find that at that time, there weren't any maintained open source web security tools. None, zero. This kind of surprised me, and I just felt it was wrong. OWASP had Web Scarab. I didn't really get on with Web Scarab. It just didn't really work for me. There was a tool called Paros. I quite liked Paros. It was straightforward. I could see what was going on, played with stuff that was quite out of date, wasn't maintained, but I liked it. Played with it, but I kind of, so I started learning about it myself. Actually, there was a couple of things that annoyed me. There was one right-click option on one window on the sites tree or the history where you could open the manual request editor and not the other one. It's annoying. Wait a minute, it's written in Java, pulling into Eclipse, messing around. Ooh, this is cool. I could do something with this. And I still remember that point. But meantime, I started giving talks to people at work, other developers and QA functional testers, to tell them about the OWASP top 10. They didn't know about it. I didn't know about it before. I wanted to be sure that I knew what I was talking about. And the best way is to give demos and talk, and then people will ask you difficult questions. First question, what tool should we use? Okay, let's go back and have a look at this. What is the best tool I can recommend these folks to use? Worked out it's probably Paros. Oh, maybe it wasn't Paros. Maybe it was a version of Paros I was hacking around with because I've made some improvements. And I've been thinking about moving into open source and working on open source projects. I was kind of hoping to find a web security tool, open source project that I could join and contribute to and learn that way. I thought, well, maybe I've got to create that project. So I called it ZAP, released it, created a set of usernames all called sign-on. Weren't associated with me in any way in case all the security people laughed at me and I had to go away. And then released it, and I offered it to OWASP, and to my surprise, a couple of months later, OWASP said, yeah, it's an OWASP project. And I saw the downloads jump by 400 on that day. I thought, ooh, this is fun. And that's how it got started.
That's amazing. And it's one of those stories that, it's very traditional, even to this day, in some cases that I've seen as well. Just, developers not fully understanding what the world of security things are out there that they can get involved in. So that's a great story.
I love it. So many of our stories start with, I had a problem and there was nothing out there that could fix my problem. So definitely. I wound up making it, right? So
sorry, I've just got to go and answer the door. I'll be back very quickly.
Go on.
It's all good. It's all good.
No worries.
It happens live all the time.
I like it. This is how I do it. I'm having like 20 different headphone failures. So if throughout this demo days, you see me wearing different headphones, this is why. But again, we are super grateful for all of you who are tuning in. Don't forget to go ahead and share this link on LinkedIn so other folks who are interested in security or maybe wanted to dabble into security didn't know where to get started. This is a great project for I guess, beginners, right, Keith? Like, it's very beginner friendly. It's a wonderful community behind it. And then we got Simon. So what more could you possibly ask for?
And it's extensible too, right? That's the one thing about Zap that I have thoroughly enjoyed, is just the ability to tinker on it, right? As a user. So let's jump back to the question list, though, now that we have Simon back. Yeah, it's all good. It happens all the time.
Of course. So what year was it, Simon, when you created Zap?
So I started working on it in 2009, and I wanted to get it into a decent state for releasing it, but it's 2010 when I actually released it.
Okay, so it's been what, 12 years now.
Yeah.
Hello, happy anniversary, 12 years. You've been a maintainer, obviously, power user, creator. You've done it all. You're the lead in the project now. What has it been like building, maintaining this project that's so widely adopted and so widely used?
It's a lot of fun. I like it. I like having a project like this to really get my teeth into. I've worked at companies before and worked on projects I've really enjoyed, and they've been cancelled. There's been business changes, and I like really getting to, it's nice doing new things, but it's also nice spending time and doing something really well, particularly when you keep on seeing what more needs to be done. It is spinning plates. There's way too much to do. We don't have enough people. So it's like, you're spinning plates, and sometimes it's like, okay, that's okay, I'll leave that, and you go back and put a new one up and start, and then there'll be a crash. It's like, I missed one. Pick up some pieces. But the other thing is working with people. Got some great people. We've got a core team of 4 of us now, and it's just really fun working with them. They're great guys. Really enjoy it. And I've traveled all around the world. I've had opportunities I just wouldn't have had as a developer. So it's great fun. I love it.
So I've got to ask, a lot has changed in the web in general since 2009. And I always like to go back to my good friend Patrick Gray over at Risky Business, citing all of the sort of interesting news articles that happened throughout the year of 2021 and beyond, and before all that. And one of the things he cited was in 2021, more cryptocurrency was stolen in terms of monetary value than all of the bank heists in history prior to 2021.
Oh my God.
So I'm really curious to know, especially as crypto is taking off, what are some of the application security challenges that you foresee, especially like this year, 2022, and into the future? And like, how are you preparing Zap to handle all that?
Oh God, I try not to look too far ahead. I mean, there's so much work to do right now. So I think a lot of the cryptocurrency stuff, I get the feeling some of it is a lot of sellotape and string. So I think there's not a lot of security engineering or good quality engineering gone into a lot of these solutions. So it doesn't surprise me that a lot of money is being stolen that way. But for us, modern web applications are a pain. Traditional web applications are much easier for security tools. Modern web applications are challenging, and we've got a lot of good features in place, but there's a load more we can do. There's always more. So yeah, I've got a to-do list and a wish list, which is a mile long. I've actually got lists of lists. So if anyone wants to help us, there's always fun stuff to do. We've actually had loads of great contributions from students, some of whom have gone on to be core team members. We've actually got a list on the website, Student Hall of Fame, and it's been great fun going through, checking out the LinkedIn links and seeing how well all these students have been doing. So we've actually helped get a load of students into the security industry. Some of those through things like Google Summer of Code, but some of them we mentor directly. If students want to work on Zap, the answer is yes. We can find fun stuff to you, and we'll help as much as we can.
And it's a great resume builder. I mean, there are so many people trying to get into the security industry, trying to get into the software engineering industry with just how much demand there is. And it's great that you have such a welcoming culture for new people to be able to join you and participate.
Definitely. And I think one thing, it takes a bit of effort to get into the Zap core team. But if you do, I think last year, 3 different companies approached me and said, we want to employ someone on the Zap core team. Who can we employ? So if you get on the Zap team, you will get job offers. Whether you want to accept them or not, it's another matter. I accepted one of them with Stackhawk, and one of our students interned at another company using Zap over the summer. So yeah, if you're a developer and want to get into security, then come and work at Zap, and you'll get job offers, no doubt.
Thank you
Nice.
for mentioning that. I mean, I think like open source is really a career empowerer and changer.
Definitely.
It helps people pivot into other things. And now, in the advent of COVID, a lot of folks are making different decisions. So if you're watching this and you've been thinking about a career switch, or you're already a developer, but you want to dive in deeper into security and application testing, hey, this is your project. So get involved. I appreciate you sharing that. And the opportunities for students, amazing. It's great to see that trajectory and that lift up right from the moment that they maybe get started and submit their first PR or get involved with the project to being professionals and doing exactly what they want to do, working still on the project. So that's fantastic. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So we're talking about ZAP. We're talking about why you created it, where the idea came from. You fixed your own problem, which I love. You already work writing Java. I watched one of your talks a while back, and you were like one of the first users. Like, I can remember what it was like. The first ever idea for Java.
Java, yeah. I think, and one of the first programs I wrote was actually a web interface, which I now know is horrifically insecure. But this was back in the day when I had to convince management that a web interface could be written for a product. And there was this new language that just come out, Java, and I wanted to play with it. So that was my first Java program, and it ended up being the web interface for that product for years, and made lots of money. Not for me.
How
but,
about
for the company.
that?
That's amazing.
I gotta quickly quote my my director, Martin Woodward, who says, "You youngins don't know how good you have it." Every time we start talking about how things have improved so much. So yeah, thank you. It's for people like you that made it so much better for all of us. But when you were building it, what was one of the, I guess, most difficult features to build?
Oh, one of the most challenging has been the heads-up display, the HUD, which is a lot of fun. It's quite unique to ZAP, and hopefully I'll have a chance to show you in a bit. But one of the strange things is, so ZAP is mostly written in Java. The heads-up display, there is some Java aspects, but most of it is JavaScript and runs in the browser. And one of the problems is we haven't got anyone working on it at the moment. There aren't enough people working on ZAP, and we haven't got the right skill set, or people haven't wanted to focus on it. So if you've got any JavaScript developers out there who want a really fun challenge, doing very unusual things, all the things you shouldn't do at all. We're doing horrible stuff with the HUD, but it's a lot of fun because basically because ZAP is a sort of manipulator in the middle between your browser and ZAP, and the target application. We can do anything we like, and we do. And with the HUD, we actually inject JavaScript, inject the HUD into the target application, which is horrific, but it works.
So speaking of showing it to us, by all means, is there any chance you could give maybe our audience a quick demo and maybe show off some of the exciting features, right? Like some of the things it's like, you shouldn't be able to do this, but you can. And I'd love to see it.
Okay. Now I've got to remember how you share my screen.
It's sometimes hidden at the bottom. So you might need to go to full
Yeah.
screen to see it. Yeah.
Can you see ZAP now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so this is what you'll see if you start ZAP. Is it actually big enough? Can you read it? I don't know.
I think
Might be
so.
a little bit challenging. Okay, so I mean, one thing we've heard is that ZAP is quite complicated and there's a lot going on. This actually is quite easy. We've hidden loads of things, so I could actually show a load more tabs there, which we hide by default. And there's right-click options everywhere. So one of the problems with ZAP is there's so much functionality. It's difficult for people starting off, really. We've got this kind of welcome screen, and you've got the automated scan. I think to start with, it's really good doing a manual explore and playing around with these things manually, so you get an idea of what's going on. And normally with tools like ZAP, you would need to configure your browser to proxy through ZAP and import the root CA certificate and all that horrible stuff. We've made that easier because we can launch browsers from ZAP. And I won't enable a HUD to start with, to give you an idea of what the desktop is like, and then I'll show the same things with the HUD on. I'm going to use a very simple vulnerable app called Budget, which I actually wrote back in the day when I was telling people about the OWASP top 10. It's
Nice.
very simple, but it's a good one to show off as app because there's some simple features and simple things we can play around with.
Nice. Are we doing disclaimers? Only do this on applications.
Yeah, sorry, I should say,
do disclaimers.
You should only attack sites that you have permission to test. So Budget is actually something I'm running locally. That's fine. We actually have an OWASP project, the vulnerable application web, the VWAD vulnerable application something or other. So we have a list of all the deliberately vulnerable applications we know about. So there's loads of fun ones, including one which is much better called OWASP Juice Shop, which is really good, but isn't so good for automation, which is why I tend to use Budget. So there's lots of fun things to play around with. But with Budget, I mean, what you typically do is you want to explore the site, and what you'll then see if you switch back to Zap, you can see all of the requests that the browser makes. So you can actually see everything that's going on, and we build up this sites tree as graphical representation of the structure. So we can see under Budget these kind of things, and we can actually look at the request and response. So we can see everything that's going on. Then, I mean, there's lots of things. What you can do is, particularly if you right click here, you'll see loads of options. And we've got options for spidering. So if you want to kind of explore the site automatically, traditional spider is very fast and furious. It doesn't handle modern web applications as well. That's why we've got the Ajax spider that launches browsers, headless ones by default, and clicks on things so that can explore modern web applications much more effectively. The active scan, this is where we actually start attacking the applications, and yeah, definitely only do this if you've got permission to attack your applications. But that's where we send all the bad stuff and try and find vulnerabilities. But you'll see there's just loads of different options, and right click, yes, just loads going on.
I was going to say, Simon, I see you're in a dev build as well. Is there any kind of like features in particular that you're really excited about, maybe that you're working on that you can share as well?
Yeah, I will. So one thing one of the fun things you can do, which some people, hopefully aware of, but you can actually intercept things. So we can just put essentially breakpoints on, and when you submit them, then you basically get the request, and you can change it on the fly. So this is a really great way of actually being able to manipulate things that maybe you wouldn't be able to do in the browser because there are controls in the way. But what I will do now is actually I will just...
So I think, Simon, what you're talking about is like if someone puts controls in JavaScript to prevent you from putting a, I don't know, like a hash mark or a dash in something, you can intercept it and kind of bypass that JavaScript to insert it into your input.
Exactly. Let me launch the browser again, but this time with the HUD. Because what you'll see is after a while, you get this big splash screen. We want to make it obvious that the HUD is in play. If you stop playing around with it, take the HUD tutorial. We've got a lot of good feedback about it. It walks you through all the features. For now, I'll be your guide. What you'll see is we're decorating the target application with these extra controls. And the idea is we're trying to bring Zap into the browser. And we want you to, because I think a lot of security people focus on the security tool too much and not the application. And some of the most fun vulnerabilities are actually logical vulnerabilities in the application. So what we can do is we can actually focus on the application and just get told about interesting things. And what we'll see is there was a little alert that came up there. Doesn't matter, we missed it because we can still see these things. So you'll see, yep, cookie, no HTTP only flag. Any new types of alerts will get erased, and we can actually see all of the alerts. These are all this is the same information you see in the desktop, but it's all in your browser.
This is pretty amazing. I mean, especially coming from that mindset of kind of hunting for bugs, right?
Yeah.
If you're a developer and you just want to walk through your application and see some of the things that are caught by this heads-up display, it's kind of a really good walkthrough for someone that's like, this should work a certain way, and then suddenly you see a flag like that, and you're like, oh, Like, what does that mean? Let me Google that.
Exactly. Yeah. We can still see all of the history. We can see the requests and responses, and we've got the sites tree here as well. So we can kind of explore. We got the same kind of information, same basic information. But the one thing I was going to show you is, here's a good example. Let's just let's put loads of these in, and we'll find there's actually JavaScript which prevents us putting more than 12 in. So what can we do? Well, we can actually go and switch to ZAP and break, but we can also actually break here. So we then actually get the request in the browser, and we can put a very large number in and continue. And then you'll see there's a lot of stuff in there, which we weren't able to do before.
Wow.
So yeah, this
amazing.
just makes it so much easier. And we've got all the things like the spider and the active scanning, all those fun things. A little thing. So see here, we've got this little show enable one. If we go to the contact us page, you'll see it's now 2. So what we're trying to do is show information. That means there are 2 hidden fields. We're trying to, we're showing information about the alerts. I think we've actually got another one for comments. So we can actually see when they're HTML comments of any interest. But with the hidden fields, basically we click on there, we're actually showing them and enabling them. So you can actually change the hidden fields.
Oh yeah, like if it's maybe a session token or something, and you want to change your session token to see, am I able to pretend to be somebody else?
Yeah, or there might be an action field you can change. And with the comments, you'll see actually there's one comment. We click on that. It should. Is that going to know? It's not a demo unless something breaks.
That's always true, right?
Let's go. Yep. So that's not working, but we will see. I mean, that does actually show us that there are comments, and that should actually show them.
I gotta say, this whole idea of a heads-up display is amazing, and it's something that I haven't seen in other sort of proxies used for security testing before. Like that is, for me, this is the first time I'm seeing it. It's mind-blowing because I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, there are so many ways that I can think about leveraging this and attacking an application. And to your point, Simon, it makes you think about things a little bit differently. You're not constantly looking at your tool feedback. You're looking at the application and kind of seeing things as you walk through it, which is, from a manual testing perspective, extremely valuable. Like that's amazing to me.
Yeah. So great. So great to be able to see the file structure and everything right there display for people who are like very, very mega beginners like myself. It gives you like a good run through of like the structure of the application you're trying to test. So that's really cool. I like to be able to see that. This is awesome.
So I'm just going to stop my share in a minute if I can work out how.
Let me take this share off the screen for a second. Okay. There we go. Well, you get it set. Perfect.
Yeah, I was going to show you something else, but I just need to restart ZAP because it was doing something funny there.
No worries.
Always that happens with a dev build too, right? You never know what you pulled in.
I did test it earlier, and of course it was fine.
That's how it typically goes. I did like that moment of inception, though. We were there 1,000 times. That's cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Let me share so hopefully I can. If you can share the. Let me get back to.
There we go.
Inception. But Zap brings Zap up again. And what I was just going to do, I'll just go back and very quickly, I'll turn the HUD off, launch the browser, and just do a quick explore. Because one of the things we're working on, so we know Zap is used a lot in automation, but we found that we've got different ways of automating Zap. You can use these package scans, which work well, but they're kind of tied to Docker and they can be difficult to extend. And we can launch Zap in daemon mode, and you've got full control over with the API. You can do pretty much anything that you can do with the desktop with the API. But that means it's quite complicated and people find it quite difficult. So what we've got is we have a new automation option. And what I'll do is I will just add budget to a context, because contexts are kind of like applications as far as we're concerned. And then I'm going to create a new automation plan. And create it on that context. And we have various profiles. And I'm just going to do a baseline scan. And I'll turn the Ajax spider off because that'll take a little bit longer. But basically, we have a way to automate ZAP using a YAML file. And you can actually create that in the desktop. And the advantage of this is, if you've got any settings, particularly things like authentication, which we haven't got complete authentication control in the automation framework. We're still working on that. But the idea is you'll be able to test your app manually with ZAP, configure ZAP so it handles it just right, and then you'll be able to create an automation framework plan from it. And
that's amazing. So you can do like automated unit and integration testing from a security perspective as well.
Exactly. And you can run that from within ZAP, and you can run it from the command line as well. So I will run that. We can see we've kicked off the spider here. And the spider's finished. We're now actually going through waiting for the passive scan to finish, which is down here. But if you have a look, is actually if you can expand this one here, and you'll see one thing we've put in is these kind of tests. And what we've got is a test we put in by default that the spider finds at least 100 URLs. And so the idea here is that you can actually put sanity checks in your plans. So did we find the right number of expected number of URLs? Did we have the right number of authenticated requests? One time on Mozilla, I set up authentication application, and one day it broke because the team had actually changed the authentication mechanism underneath. Now I found that out because I put these checks in myself. But if you weren't checking those things, then you wouldn't know that. You just think, oh, the scan it ran quicker than usual. Didn't find anything. That's great. So I want to have we have these statistics within ZAP, and you can basically test any of them. And we've got by default we put things sensible ones in, like when you're spidering, expect the certain number of, and if that's not good enough, you can change it. You can test whether it's greater than, equal to, not equal to. So you've got a wide range of options, and all of these things are configurable. Passive scan, if you actually want to change some of the rules, you can go in, turn some of them off, change them medium, high. You have a lot of control here. We can see that's finished and have a look at the output. And actually, we've got a report. So I'll just launch the browser again. And hopefully we can do. And there's a nice, pretty report.
I was just going to ask about reporting. This was the one thing that, especially when you're doing dynamic scanning, it's like, well, what does the output look like that I'm going to provide to, my colleagues, my boss, the security team, or, somebody that needs to have that, right? That's amazing.
Yeah. Right. So the one thing ZAP reporting used to be awful, I have to admit. And the reports were just, excuse me, the original Paros reports. What we've now done is we have find it, report generator, and it's under here, of course. And basically, we now have a lot more options. We have a whole load of templates, and they have different sections. We've got filters, scope, and some of these are a lot prettier. So
there you go.
And this is using open source libraries, so they are much easier to create new reports. We actually had a report competition, and some of the winners winning reports we included with ZAP, including the risk and confidence one, modern HTML report, high-level sample reports, and we've got the traditional, the previous ones for people who kind of rely on that format.
That's amazing. And especially because it goes to show the sort of extensibility, right? Maybe you have your own reporting format, you see some other reports in there, you can go out and look at how those reports are built and maybe start to build together your own style of report that you'd want to include. That's amazing.
Right, you can probably stop sharing screen now. I think that was everything I was going to show off.
Yeah, that's amazing. Honestly,
that was plenty. Thank you.
The heads-up display in particular was something that for me, that is game changing in a lot of ways. I've never seen something like that before, and now I'm very tempted to pull up Zap this weekend and go do some bug bounty hunting on sites that I'm authorized to go do that sort of testing on, because that's really cool, and I need to go play with that.
Yeah, it's I've not seen anything like it on any other tool, so it is unique, and yeah, we want people to help us with it. So if you want to get involved in the JavaScript, then get in touch.
Yeah,
well, go ahead, Andrea.
Oh, no, I just wanted to add another way that folks can contribute also is to your marketplace, right? There is a lot of add-ons and they're all community created. So check that out too.
Documentation, helping us with testing. There's millions of things to do, always with open source projects like Zap.
So I've got to ask, so switching gears a little bit, you recently joined Stackhawk. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the things that you'll be working on over there, and maybe what some of the what sort of problems are you trying to solve for your customers?
So, I mean, to be honest, I'm still working on Zap full time. I mean, that's what Stackhawk enables me to do, which is brilliant. But the reason I joined Stackhawk is because one, then allowed me to work on Zap, but two, I believed in what they were doing. So one thing we became very aware of quite early on was Zap is great for one user. If you want to bring it into an organization and use it at scale and get every developer using it, it's hard. I integrated it in Mozilla, and I had to do it manually, and it took me a lot of effort, and I know what I'm doing, or I should do, with Zap, and it wasn't straightforward. We had this plan to create Zap as a service, but in the end, so a software as a service, Zap, trouble is, it's a huge amount of work. We don't have enough people. We just didn't get around, we didn't start it, and it's just... to have that, I think you really need to have a company behind it that's funding it and able to make money out of it. We thought about setting up a Zap company, but that's not really my skill set. I'm not the entrepreneurial type. I like playing with technology. But we designed Zap to be as easy to use and as easy to integrate with in other companies and other solutions. So we always saw that Zap would play well in this space. And whenever we see companies using Zap or rebadging Zap, we get in touch and have a chat with them. I saw Stackhawk was using Zap, called them, had a chat, got on really well, and I loved their approach. And their approach was very different from a lot of companies and security companies in that they were aiming at developers, not at the security team. And this means you can actually test applications much earlier on in the development lifecycle. Instead of going, okay, development's finished, we want to go live in 2 weeks, let's get the pen testers in. Oh my God, it's horrible. It's a car crash. There's so many things you can test really early on in development. Once you've got something built and running, you can start testing it. And this isn't going to put pen testers out of business. There's loads of fun things that only they will know, but it gets rid of the rubbish. It gets rid of stuff that, you can find stuff early on and fix it. And, whether it means that you actually need to put new libraries in place or extra training for people or standardized ways of doing things, you can do that early on, have it in place and have a much more solid application security-wise before the pen testers see it. And
that's awesome.
I love their approach, and I might have mentioned, I kind of thought this is a company to watch, and I might have mentioned that I wasn't able to spend as much time on Zap as I wanted to at Mozilla because of change of priorities, and then Joni, the CEO, got in touch with me the next day and said, "Simon, how would you like to work on Zap full time?" It's like,
brilliant.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's a great story of working in open source, solving your own problems, working to continue to maintain it over time, and now making a career of it is it's a great story, and that's I think every developer's dream that builds open source projects and communities. So congratulations.
Thank you. And Stackhawk doing a great job. They got a growing team, way more than we could ever have, making sure that this is just a really great interface and a really great way of moving Zap into a business, into the enterprise.
That's awesome. That's
wonderful. Go ahead, Keith. Sorry, I just got excited because I wanted to ask about ZapCon, which is another thing that's happening, and it's also it's, I guess, sponsored by Stackhawk as well, right?
Yes.
So I think it's timely to mention it.
Very.
Talk to us about this conference. Did you ever dream you were going to have a conference about this thing that you made?
Yes, I hoped. But I mean, it's when you start something, you see the potential, but you never really, you don't really think it's going to get there. And we think that ZAP is now the most frequently used web application security scanner in the world, including all the commercial ones. So, I always thought a conference would be great, but last year we actually had one. So we had one early last year, all virtual because of COVID, of course, and we're having another one, the second one, on the 8th of March. If you go to zaproxy.org, there's a link from there, or it's yep, there you go. So we link off to the ZapCon conference course. I think there's still just time to get, if you've got any proposals for talks, you've got till the end of today to get them in. But plenty of time to register to turn up. And we had loads of people and loads of great talks last time. So this time I think it'll be even better. So really looking forward to it.
And
That's
it's
amazing.
free. It's free, folks. So
Completely
go ahead and
free. Yes.
Go onto the conference site and register and become a part of that community. That's going to be a great
Definitely.
one. Go ahead, Keith. I'll stop my assignment over the conference now.
It's a great thing to be excited about. I mean, to have a conference around a tool that you built, more than a decade ago, and be able to work on it full time, man, you're living the dream, Simon. That's amazing. That's just amazing.
It's great. Yeah, cannot complain at all.
And so I've got to ask, beyond coding projects, what are some of the things that you like to do to relax and spend your other free time on beyond working on Zap?
Oh, good question. Got a motorbike. I'm a biker. Fun.
Very nice. Very nice.
So I try and get out whenever I can on that.
That's great.
Yep, let's go.
There you go.
If you had others you want to talk about, by all means, we have plenty of time.
I like VR, virtual reality is a lot of fun.
Okay.
So I did manage to get the VR headset connected to my desktop running Zap. So I have run Zap in VR.
With the heads-up display, it's truly a heads-up display now.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I haven't found a way to actually inject Zap into the browser running in your. So you have to do it via the desktop. So it's a bit of a cheat. But even so, it's. There's a lot of fun things, and I'd love to play around with VR and start programming. It's just finding time, It's
oh, sure. There's never enough time in the day. There's never enough time.
No, definitely not.
And so also, Andre, I think the next question was yours. So I'm going to hand it back to you.
Oh no, that's okay. I was just envisioning you with the VR headset on, and then thinking of the heads-up display logo, and that's basically it. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
It's model. That's amazing. Let's see. Let's talk about maybe if you have any particular open source projects that you see out there, whether they're security related or not, that you might want to give a shout out to. That'd be cool. For those folks who are kind of interested on just learning more about other open source projects.
Yeah, I mean, OWASP has got loads of open source projects.
Yes.
All of OWASP stuff is completely free. I've mentioned Juice Shop. It's a really great vulnerable application. It's actually, to Bjorn saw Bodget, the one I created, thought I could do better than this, and he's done way better. So it's a really fun thing. I actually ran a capture the flag event at one of the Mozilla All Hands, and we had QA developers and pen testers all playing with it, and there's stuff for the beginners, and even the pen testers were having fun. That was until one of the ops guys actually started beating them in the scores.
Oh no!
The pen testers got serious then, and they put some hours into really, but it was touch and go at one stage. So Juice Shop is a really fun project. What else? Yeah. So I think if you talk about open source projects, I'm still going to give a shout out to Firefox. A lot of people seem to like to have digs at Firefox, but I've always been a fan. And it needs more love, and we need people like that. Yeah, and we need it to keep the web safer than it is in other hands.
Honestly, it was, I think, in a lot of our pre-talk, I had asked you about kind of what's your favorite browser to use for testing. And for me, Firefox was the tool that I used. I would kind of separate all of my concerns of browsers that I would use for my daily driver and browsers that I would use for testing. And Firefox always felt like the right thing for me to jump into. So definitely, +1 to Firefox.
And actually, when I started creating Zap in the community, I was in my mind trying to create, I was trying to do a Mozilla and Firefox. That was the open source project I most admired and wanted to kind of replicate in a security sense.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Simon. This has been so enlightening. I learned so much. If you're a beginner, it doesn't matter where you are. If you're a developer, if you've never taken a look at security, you think that that's the job of somebody else, we're here to tell you it is your job too. It is your responsibility from the very first line of code. And there is a ton of incredible tools out there. Shout out to, of course, ZAP, that's helping you test your applications early on so you can own it. And I love to always mention when we're talking about this amazing type of services and projects that this is not putting people out of work. This is not taking, there's still going to be plenty of other things that pen testers and other security specialist people can focus on. But this is actually going to make you a better developer. So all of you watching, own it. Take a look at ZAP. Take a look at OWASP and support these projects that are just making us all, better at what we do, right? Helping write better, faster, secure code. So it's been amazing to have you here today, Simon. Thank
Absolute
you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you for inviting me. It's always great talking to you.
Thank you. So let's do some call to actions. Let's give folks some homework. First of all, go register for ZapCon because it's going to be fun. It's free, and you're going to get to interact with people like Simon one-on-one, and hello. That is a true treat. Second of all, if you haven't been involved with security application testing, but that's something that you're curious about, there's tons of really great video tutorials on the ZAP website itself. And we've plugged AJ, shout out to AJ, thank you, and the production booth. He's plugged out some of the links, and we'll share them also on the notes when we upload this to YouTube so that you can go on and check out those tutorials from zero, really. So even if you've never done this kind of testing, you can get started by watching them. Follow Simon on social. Follow Simon on Twitter. I will plug your handle here. Keith, any other calls to actions? Let's get folks.
Yeah, for other web application security projects, go to OWASP.org. To Simon's point, they're a great community and have a lot of different things that need your support as a development community as well as security community. And beyond that, ZapCon.io, go check it out. I'm excited to register for it and see that. And I look forward to hearing more about the work that you're going to be doing and all the great things that will come now that you're fully able to focus on this, Simon. This is going to be great.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you all of you who've been watching us. We have folks join from everywhere. We have people from Paris, Nigeria, Turkey. There were tons of shout outs and lots of thank yous. To echo what Keith mentioned at the beginning of the Demo Days program today, your work has been just instrumental in a lot of people getting started and, making a career out of security testing. So it's really great to have you here and just be able to hear folks say thanks in person, well, virtually in person. It's great. So thank you so much for being here. Anything else you want to shout out to close up, and we'll let folks go get some lunch or close out for the evening, Simon?
Shout out to you guys. You're doing such a great job. And it's a pleasure talking to you. And thank you to everyone who's supported ZAP and used ZAP. And yeah, get in touch. If you want to help us out, get in touch. There's always loads to do.
Amazing. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Again, time just flew by. We tried to keep it like a 35, 40 minutes, but it was a very well spent hour. So thanks again. Join again for the next Demo Days. And I guess I don't want to, but we have to let Simon go. I don't want to though. We could talk about this all day, but I'm sure folks have other things that they got to go to too. So Keith, any closing words?
Thank you. Honestly, Simon, everyone in the OWASP community, the ZAP community, of course, AJ, Andrea here as well, just all of the team at GitHub and the great work that they do to support communities out there like this one. So thank you, and stay safe and have a great weekend.
Yes. Thanks again, folks. Have a great one. Take care.